YouTube. Guys who are members on YouTube, you can come to Zoom. The meeting is on. So we'll have these topics. We'll discuss these topics, and then we'll have a personal discussion, one-to-one discussion if anybody is interested. So for all the members, YouTube members and patrons, you can see the Zoom meet link in the description below, and the password is in the post links. Maybe if the viewers stick on until the end, I can share the password public, and those who are, those few people who might be committed enough to stay until the very end can all come onto Zoom. So let's get started. Let me start with a quick shloka. I hope the video is all clear and smooth on all platforms. Let's get started. ह्रीङ्कारासनगर्भितानलशिखां सौः क्लीं कलां बिभ्रतीं सौवर्णाम्बरधारिणीं वरसुधाधौतां त्रिनेत्रोज्ज्वलां वन्दे पुस्तकपाशमङ्कुशधरां स्रग्भूषणालङ्कृतां त्वां गौरीं त्रिपुरां परात्परकलां श्रीचक्रसञ्चारिणीम्. So these topics that you see here are what we are going to discuss for today. Why Shyamala Dandakam? First of all, yes, a very happy new year to all of you. Dharmender ji, Raj, Balachandran ji, everybody else. Clear and smooth, wonderful Dharmender ji. And Paras, thank you so much. All right, so yes, we are in 2023. A new calendar year has started. Lots of things happened last year, and you know that I like to keep the topics that we cover on the channel to be relevant around the festivals seasonally. So why Shyamala Dandakam is because one of the most important festivals coming up in January is Vasanta Panchami. So there is this Chaitra Masa there is Magha Masa that is coming up. So Magha Navaratris are also called as Shyamala Navaratris, and this entire season of Magha is for goddess Saraswati and Shyamala and Matangi, all the different names that she is known. So I thought this entire stream of Sri Vidya is extremely fascinating. Of course, it is all related to geometrical patterns called as yantras, and there's this whole science of approaching Shakti, the energy that functions within all of our bodies, and it's an extremely fascinating field of study and a path towards spiritual progress. So I thought, because Vasanta Panchami is coming up on January 26th and Shyamala Navaratris are coming up from January 22nd, I thought we'll do Shyamala Dandakam, which has been one of the most requested, sought after topics for us to explore on the Sanskrit channel. As you might have seen, this time I want to do it in multiple languages, translations as well. Kalikashtakam, we had done it in Bengali script, and Shivananda Lahari, we had done it in 3 or 4 different scripts, I think 3 different scripts, but all English translations. But from now on, हम हिंदी में भी बात करेंगे और తెలుగులో కూడా కొంచెం మాట్లాడి దానిలో ట్రాన్స్లేషన్స్ చేద్దాం. గుజరాతీ હું જાણું છું, લેકિન કેમ છો મજામાં? બધું કેમ છો? બધાને નમસ્કાર. This is the extent of Gujarati that I know. So we'll try to explore multiple language translations of Shyamala Dandakam. So the topics for today are 5-fold. We'll look at Sri Yantra itself, what Sri Yantra means, how goddess Shakti is worshipped in the form of geometrical patterns, and what the story behind the personified form of goddess Lalita or Lalita Parabhattarika or Mahatripura Sundari, what this whole story of her going to war with Bhandasura and the different kinds of duels that happen between these opposing forces, what does that story signify, and the symbolism behind all of it, how does it correlate with the human physiology and the different chakras and the path of progress from tamas towards jyoti. So that is the whole process of spirituality. So we'll look at that abstract principles of Sri Vidya first, and then come to the understanding of goddess Shyamala, who is in essence a form of goddess Saraswati. So we all know that in tradition, generally, the goddess of learning, the goddess of Vidya, is goddess Saraswati. She is, the most popular shlokas. All of the shlokas that describe her in white garment. She essentially represents sattva. So ya kundendu tusharahara dhavala, ya shubhra vastra vrita. So she is seated on a white lotus. She is wearing white garments. She is seated sometimes on a hamsa, which is white. Even if she is seated on a peacock, rarely, even that is a white peacock most of the time. So she is all just pure sattva. But the pursuit of knowledge, just wanting to make progress in any field of human pursuit, gaining skill, need not necessarily always be a sattvic process. So there are, life is not necessarily always goody-goody. So there are many other fields of pursuit, of knowing, of wanting to intellectually conquer and master something, gain skill and make progress in something, might also be in Rajasic and Tamasic fields. So the Tantric, more overarching goddess who governs all these kinds of pursuits is goddess Shyamala. So she is one of the many powers or Shaktis, sub-deities associated with the presiding deity of Sri Yantra. So we'll understand her form, we'll understand a shloka on her, and we'll see what her yantra is like. We'll see, the different kinds of chants that are used for goddess Shyamala. And one of those chants is this extremely rhythmic, melodious, just poetic genius, and at the same time spiritually profound chant called as Shyamala Dandakam. We'll look at the overall structure of Shyamala Dandakam. There are many variants of Shyamala Dandakam that one can find from texts from the past like Kularnava Tantra and Sri Vidya Ratnakara to the latest, more popular renditions of very established artists. There are slight disparities in texts when it comes to Shyamala Dandakam. We look at what those disparities are, how does one decide on what is correct and what is not, and we look at how to understand and approach the words, the individual words of Shyamala Dandakam, which is in itself a feat, a kind of a challenge. So just to pronounce it, and we'll see how to understand and analyze these words and appreciate their meanings and relish this entire composition. And finally, there is a project call. Like I said, I want to do this first exploration of this year in multiple languages of Bharat. So I would like to invite any language experts, anybody. So I have points of contact in Malayalam and Gujarati and Hindi and Telugu and Tamil to a little extent, and English I can manage. But if you are an expert in any other language, Odia, Bengali, Nepali and Sinhalese especially, please get in touch with me. I'll post more about this on Instagram and YouTube as well, but I want to do this in as many languages as I can. Nepali, thank you so much, Banasji. So please send me a mail on thesanskritchannel@gmail.com. I have one point of contact in Sinhalese, but thank you so much for Banas Gurungji for volunteering. If there are any Sinhalese people also watching this, please send me a message on thesanskritchannel@gmail.com or message me, DM me on Instagram, and we can collaborate on translating Shyamala Dandakam in your language as well. So having said that, let us thank you, Sharmiji. So I'm hoping for people who are reasonably fluent with your own languages as well, guys. So thank you so much, Vasantraji. All of you guys, thank you so much. I'll announce this one more time at the end. We'll then see how we can what languages we can translate this into. I'm already doing Hindi, English translations, and Telugu for sure. Gayatri ji, maybe I can take your help with Gujarati. Jayanta is a little busy. Maybe I can take his help also. He has exams going on. But yes, let's do this in as many languages as possible and start this new year with I don't know. I'm excited about doing as many languages as possible. So the first thing is, what is Sri Yantra? So a yantra is the literal meaning of a yantra is a machine. So anything that works, that functions, that moves, that gets stuff done is a yantra. So what are these yantras, the yantras that are geometrical shapes? What are those towards? Those are towards affecting physiological well-being. Those are symbolic representations, and at the same time they represent in the functioning and in the essence how human energy structure functions. So most of us are aware by now about the nadi vyavastha within the human body, the breath that goes in, where it converges and from where it diverges across, and how it passes, and this prana shakti that we inhale, how does it converge and diverge within the body? We know this, we have covered this in extensive detail, so I need not tell you guys. I'm hoping about the 7 major chakras and the 112 minor chakras and the 72,000 nadis. So we'll do multiple other follow-up videos on these 72,000 nadis, 72 of whose names are present. So it's generally understood that from these 72, the 1,000 is just them branching out. A Sri Yantra is the perfect geometrical representation of a human body. So how can it be represented? How is it physiologically present? It is present, like you see here, as a pyramidal structure of 9 levels. These 9 levels are called as Nava Avaranas. So there are 7 chakras in the body, but there are 9 Avaranas in a Sri Yantra. How is that? Because there are 7 major chakras, and between Ajna and Sahasrara there are 2 more. These are minor ones called as Soma and Manasa. So those 2 also, when included, become 9. And those 9 correlate exactly with the 9 levels of the Sri Yantra. So this base platform that you see at the bottom, that almost square kind of a structure, is the Bhupura, which represents the earth element. And from there, each element, as the 3 circles, the 16 petal lotus and the 8 petal lotus, and then all these triangular structures that intersect with each other, all of this gradually move from that which is dense and gross at the bottom towards that which is subtler and refined at the top, towards Sahasrara. And at the peak, at the very middle and at the peak, resides Sahasrara, which is the source of life. That is where cosmic energy enters. That is the seat of Parabrahma. There are many other symbolisms behind Sahasrara, but once energy is hitting the peak along the spine, both geographically and energy wise, is Sahasrara, and that is where the presiding deity of the Sri Yantra is said to reside. Now, all of these very physical truths are presented in more symbolic stories, which are easy to grasp, which are more relishable to enjoy, to listen to. And there have been compositions on the different enclosures, on the different avaranas, on each level. each level again has a name. There are multiple deities for each of them. So if to understand all of them, looking at a three-dimensional structure is a little complicated. So if you look at a Sri Yantra from top down, it looks something like this. This, you see, this is very popular calendar art. So you might have seen this in multiple places. So this is an actual pyramidical structure which is seen from the top. You can see the bindu at the very core. That is the Sahasrara Chakra. And around that is a triangle, the downward pointing triangle. And around that is another enclosure, a circle of triangles. And there are, concentric rings of triangles moving outward. So this is how the primal, the mother, the energy, the cosmic energy at the center is said to manifest herself outward from the most refined, from being just pure energy in the middle to more and more dense forms of material creation as you move outward, to as different different emotions, different faculties of the human body, different elements, different limbs as indriyas, and different all different kinds of material aspects of creation. And each of them is referred to as a devata. So we have emotions, we have different kinds of desires, we have faculties that we can think with, we can work with, we can smell with, see with. All of these are ascribed, all these functions and the limbs, all aspects of material creation are seen as a manifestation of energy, and they are given names and their ambits and their presiding deities and how one can worship it. What is the point of worshipping a faculty of human expression that we have within ourselves? What is the point of giving it a name and then worshipping it? It's anyway within ourselves. It is a method for us to develop something within ourselves to its full-fledged potential. So we can, of course, do away with all this, just turn inward, focus on, okay, this is the faculty of action that I have, of smell that I have, of speech. But to approach it at that dry a level is very demanding. So there are other processes, other paths of spirituality, like maybe Hatha Yoga, Kriya Yoga, other paths of Adhyatma. But giving them personified forms, bringing something which is within, outside, worshipping it, feeding it, empowering it, and then taking it inside, is this entire science of ritualistic approach to developing human potential. And that is what Sri Yantra is used for. That is what the path of Sri Vidya is all about. But when we are doing this, we don't approach it in that dry level. We look at this entire energy that is present within us as our mother. So all these, like I said, all these 9 enclosures, all of them are given names. So the outermost is called as Trailokya Mohana Chakra, the Bhupura, the square pattern that you see with entrances on 4 sides. That is the Trailokya Mohana Chakra. And there are different deities along each corner and the sides, and along as you enter it, there are different kinds of deities. There is this, as I'm talking to you about all of this, where did I learn all of this and how did I experience all of this? I'll have to tell you a little bit about, I think. There is this amazing place near coastal Andhra Pradesh called Vishakhapatnam. The place is called Anakapalli, and there is this ashram in a place called, this ashram itself is called Devipuram. And the Guruji who was there, who is no more, he left his body, who was there, created a temple, an actual physical 3-dimensional temple in the form of a Sri Yantra, pyramidical Sri Yantra. And it has these entrances. As you enter this temple, you have different deities of the Sri Yantra in their personified forms sitting there with their names, holding different weapons and instruments in their hands. So all of these matrikas or aspects of the mother you can see in as idols in front, and it is in multiple levels, so you can climb up the stairs towards each level. And at the top, the topmost floor is goddess Lalita, the presiding deity of all of them, sitting there, and she's worshipped there. So I've had the fortune of going there, and that was my introduction to Shri. And this happened almost 3 years ago, I think, when I was first trying to learn Saundarya Lahari. You guys remember Saundarya Lahari, I hope. So there is this shloka composed by Adi Shankaracharya, the 11th shloka of Saundarya Lahari, where he starts to describe the Sri Yantra. He says, O goddess who is manifest as 4 downward, 5 downward, and 4 upward pointing triangles. And I was like, and before that I had no idea what Sri Yantra is, or what this entire symbolism is, what this path of Sri Vidya is. I thought he's just describing the mother, goddess Shakti, in her personified form, in describing her beauty. But then as soon as I saw this very geometrical description of him describing her as just 5 downward triangles, 4 upward triangles, I'm like, what is this triangle business now? And then I started researching and found this place. And like I said, it is just 4 upward triangles, 5 downward triangles. That is all this complex geometrical pattern that you see is just made of 9 triangles, 5 of which move downward, 4 of which move upward. Now again, upward, downward, it's all what is up, what is down in a 3-dimensional structure. You can sit anywhere you want and start worshipping it. Even that has a significance as to which side you place it, how do you approach it, so which gate you enter through. So depending on what you want to do in your life, what your ultimate aim is, do you want to become materially successful, do you want to approach occult and imagination, but do you want to control elements around you, do you want to get a specific siddhi, do you want mastery over elements, or do you want mastery over yourself, does none of this matter to you, and your sole objective is just to answer the biggest questions of life, the biggest question of life, which is what is this human experience, where does it come from, where does it go, who am I, that question. So depending on what your question is, what your pursuit is, your approach towards Sri Vidya sadhana differs. But if you approach her as a mother who is benevolent, who will give you all the worldly goodness, the materialistic well-being of life, you approach her from the 5 downward pointing triangles. You keep those in front of you as those 5 point towards yourself. I mean, this symbolism is very common. Even the West has some instances of it, the cup and the chalice and whatever else, that the Star of David and all the other kind of figures. I'm not too well versed with them, but it is present that an upward pointing triangle represents masculine aspect of creation, and a downward pointing triangle represents feminine aspect of creation. Now 4 of them upward, 5 of them downward, as you see here in this picture. When they come together, they form this central pattern which has 44 different smaller triangles which are formed, distinct triangles, which each of which represents one aspect of human faculty. So all of this process has been described by Shankaracharya in this one shloka, which goes Chaturbhihi Shri Kanthaihi Shiva Yuvatibhi Panchabhirapi Prabhinnabhi Shambhor Navabhirapi Moola Prakritibhihi Chatushchatvarimshad, which means 44. Chatushchatvarimshad Vasudala Kalashra Trivalaya Trirekhabhi Sardham Tava Sharana Konaha Parinataha. Your Sharana Konaha, your corners of refuge, your corners where I seek my refuge, I approach and worship, they are full-fledged, they are fully energized and present and manifest in these 44 different intersections, 44 different triangles with 8 different. Vasu is 8 and Kalashra is 16. So in as 8 petals first and then 16 petals later. In this kind of a blossoming of this central energy with 4 upward pointing triangles and 5 downward pointing triangles, your energy is manifest in this creation. And that is an overview of the Sri Yantra. This image that you saw before is the Khadgamala Stotram. So Khadgamala Stotram is the simplest way of approaching a Sri Yantra and worshipping it. There are many urban legends and myths around how you should never chant a Khadgamala Stotram as it is, because those goddesses will come, and if you don't know how to handle them, they get, kannu kuttinu. Then they punish you, kind of things. But not at all. It's a stotram. You are praising them. You are, approaching them as it is. This is not tarpanam. This is not homa. This is not a yajna. It's a stotram. So you can peacefully, comfortably, without any doubt, chant Khadgamala Stotram. And I have made a video on Devi Khadgamala Stotram, where each deity, there are 108 of these deities, 108 faculties of human potential, and represented as 108 Devis. This includes the Anima, Mahima, Laghima, all the Ashtasiddhis, and the Pancha Jnanendriyas, Karmendriyas, everything else. So each of them called out in Sambodhana and worshipped. And I also made an animation, a 3-dimensional animation of where each of those goddesses is present in this 3-dimensional Sri Yantra. I'll link to Khadgamala Stotram in the description below. You can watch it later on. But here I just wanted to give you guys a quick overview of what this path of Sri Vidya is, how that correlates with the physical body, why is there a geometrical representation to it, and how is it approached and worshipped. Now, on top of all of this, there is also a beautiful story. The story goes that there was once upon a time this Asura by the name Bhandasura, and none of the Devas were able to vanquish him because he had some boon of some kind. And all the Devas prayed and they thought, okay, we can't really defeat him, so we need to combine our energies together and send that energy to fight him. And when they combined all their energies together, the resultant mother of all Devas who formed out of it was goddess Lalita. Literally, the word Lalita means the one who is playful. Lalana, Lalita is... So even the word itself, Lalita is somebody who is approachable, who is gentle, who is playful. So she is that playful energy of creation, and she goes against this huge battle against Bhandasura. And what is the chariot she uses to go to war? What is the Ratha she is on? That Ratha is the Sri Yantra. And there are again many descriptions against of the war, how she went, and how she sent Ganesha first to war, and then Ganesha went, and Bhandasura sent some other, his sub asuras, his army, the lower rung of his army, and how Ganesha defeated that group that was sent, and then how Bhandasura sent the next level of commanders, and then how goddess Lalita sent her next level of commanders. All of this story is in Devi Mahatmyam. We had also done 700 shlokas of Devi Mahatmyam. It's also called as Durga Saptashati. Most people just do a chant of Devi Mahatmyam without really realizing that the story is all battle that is happening within. The battleground is the human body. So that is what the symbolism and the significance of this is. Where does goddess Shyamala tie in to all of this? She is the minister. As goddess Lalita, the presiding deity of Sri Yantra, went to war against Bhandasura, who represents tamas and inertia. The the her right hand woman, the goddess Lalita's minister of war, was goddess Shyamala. The other one, there is a minister and there is a Sena Naika. There is a commander in chief, and that commander is Varahi. She is the Punisher in chief. Goddess Shyamala is the counselor in chief. So that is the symbolism. She's the minister, and that is why she's also called as Mantrini. Again, Lalitan Sahasranama has also referred to goddess Shyamala as Mantrini, Mantrinyamba Virachita. So goes on like that. So, but what does she actually represent? The stories are all good. These are for children, but now that we are a little more serious practitioners of spirituality, we understand things at a more abstract level. What does goddess Shyamala represent? She represents the Anahata Chakra. She represents all of arts, fine learning of music, of dance, of just relishment and joy and love. So in the path of learning Sri Vidya, which is called as Sri Krama, there is a progression to it. You can't just approach the rituals of goddess Lalita. You can approach her in devotion, but if you want to do these rituals, empower all of your human faculties, you have to do it step by step. You have to lay down the foundation. So you're literally building a Sri Yantra, the pyramid within your body. So your foundations have to be strong before you start laying the top layers. So the foundation is the earth element, the Bhupura that we saw, and the presiding deity there is Ganesha. So Mooladhara Kshetra Sthitam. So Ganesha is the presiding deity of the Mooladhara chakra. So you start with Ganesha Yantra first, and then go towards Bala Tripura Sundari, and there are other sub-deities. And at the center, at Anahata Chakra, we have goddess Shyamala. And she is represented with this yantra, which has 8 enclosures. Like how goddess Lalita's Sri Yantra had 9 enclosures, goddess Shyamala's yantra has 8 different enclosures. As you see, it is a 5-pointed pentagon. It's not exactly a triangle in the center of all these lotuses, and within that is a downward pointing triangle. Again, here at the center lies goddess Shyamala, and like this, every other deity, every other aspect of human faculty has their own specific yantra. So you need not necessarily always worship just the Sri Yantra. Depending on what you want to do, where you want to focus your energies, what you want to work on, there are individual yantras for each of these other devatas. In the story, it is said that these other yantras are their chariots, their rathas. They ride on these rathas and go to battle against the darkness, the dark forces outside or the darkness within. So that is how we come to the form of the Shyamala Yantra and the shloka on goddess Shyamala. The word Shyama means the dark one. Shyam is Shyama Sundar, and Shyama is that which is dark. So it's either dark blue or dark green. It's almost tending towards black, but not exactly black, but this very dark, how this twilight is. So that is why evening is also called as Sham. Sham hogi hai is because Sham is darkness, Shyama. So that the darkness of the evening sky, which is not really green, not really blue, but almost tending towards black, that is Shyama. She's also called as Mantrini because she is the prime counselor of goddess Lalita, and she has another name called as Matangi because she was born as the daughter of sage Matanga. Again, there is a lot of story about Matanga and what the sage Matanga himself represents, but I don't want to give that also abstract ideas. let's take it at face value that there was a sage Matanga who lived, and goddess did uh, appear as his child and was born there in his family. So we'll stick to that. I've seen some questions as to, I want to understand why goddess Matangi is called as Matanga's daughter, and she has other names called Uchishta Chandalini, and there are many other names, abstract forms. Like I said, this form of the goddess is not restricted to sattvic endeavors. She rules over, her ambit of function is all of human pursuit, any field of learning that you want to have, which might or might not harm others, benefit others. All of this socially acceptable and acceptable nonsense is psychological. At the more existential creation aspect, it's all just learning and pure sciences and pursuit. So there is no sattva, rajas and tamas. One is bigger, one is smaller, one should go towards one and not towards the other. All that is not there anymore. So that is why she is called as Matangi, and there are other names towards her. I'll not go into this process of worship. There are pancha makaras, Matsya, Madhya, Maithuna, Mudra, and what else? Madhya. But these are all, maybe I'll make videos on them later separately. But using all of these elements and not looking down upon any of these very natural aspects and very natural elements that we have in life is called as Kaulachara. There are different ways of worshipping and approaching Sri Vidya. There is Vamachara, there is Samayachara, there is Kaulachara, all depending on different inclinations of people, different, how different tastes and different how comfortable you are in your own approach. Depending on that, everybody has their own different path. The trouble comes when somebody thinks, Samayachara is the best because it's all internal, Kaulachara is lower because you are making use of, puja dravyas, and you are looking at the deity as something different. It's not that something is a lower path, something is a higher path. Everybody is their own different paths depending on how they get there. So what is more important is for us to see where we are at and how we can make that journey for ourselves. I'll stop my rant here, but let me now chant the shloka on goddess Shyamala. Shyame Sangita Mata Parashiva Nilaye Mukhya Sachivya Bharodvahe Dakshe Dayapurita Nija Hridaye Mamakim Dainya Vrittim Shrimat Simhasaneshyam Bhavavana Patitan Davadagdhan Namaste Tratum Piyusha Varshai Kathaya Parikaram Baddhavatya Vivikte. So, as you see, the very addressal of goddess Shyama is, the first is her name itself, Shyami, O goddess Shyama. The next one is Sangita Mataha, O goddess of music. Parashiva Nilaye, whose abode is Lord Parashiva. And Mukhya Sachivya Bharodvahe. So Bhara Udvahe is the one who has taken up. She upholds. Udvaha is to uphold, literally. Ut is up and Vaha is to carry. What does she carry? She carries the responsibility of being the Mukhya, the prime Sachivya is Sachiva, the prime minister, the main ministerial affairs of goddess Lalita. So Dayapurita Nija Hridaye, she is compassionate. She takes away the deenatva or destituteness of people. So she is the one who showers this nectar, Piyusha Varshaihi. Kathaya is, O goddess, give me a way. So that is the prayer here. So this shloka describes the goddess, and there are again many different depictions. In some vigrahas, she is seen as having 16 different hands, 16 hands. In some, she just has 4 hands. But what is common is she is carrying a veena, and the symbolism of the veena is the human spine. So she is the one who plays the spine and is the one dancing there. She's the music. She's the creator of music along the spine. And there is this symbolism of, again, same the exact same symbolism as what goddess Lalita has in her 4 hands, which is the sugarcane bow, sugarcane staff bow, which represents the mind. And it's a sugarcane staff because it's filled inside with sweetness and it is hollow. So one's mind ideally needs to be that way, that it is sweet within. And in the other hands, the arrows that she draws on that bow, which she holds separately, they are not drawn, but there is a distinct separation. Those 5 arrows, the same 5 arrows of Manmatha, each of them again has a name. Those 5 are flowery arrows. They are the 5 senses that we have. And she is holding them separately, the mind and the senses separately. And in the other 2 hands, she is holding a pasha, which is a rope that is used to bind, that attracts, and a goad, which is a poking instrument that is used to repel. So she is the one who is holding all of these separately. This attractions, aversions, this push and pull of likes and dislikes, and the senses and the mind, all of these, she's holding them separately. So all of these are again symbolisms for us to see how we have to handle all these faculties, which when approached in that sense is more meaningful. But looking at her as the mother and approaching her through offerings and tarpanas and pujas and elaborate rituals is not wrong, even if somebody doesn't know all of this symbolism behind it, because that is the beauty of it. Not everybody needs to be at that level of intellectual unfolding to reap benefits of the process. So even if somebody just approaches it very innocently, believing that, okay, there was a mother in the past who was the empress, the universal ruler of all of creation, and she did go to war, and just dissolves oneself emotionally into it, because that is what is more conducive towards emotional attachment. Once you get to know all of these intellectual abstract symbolisms, it gets harder to get an emotional connect. So it's, again, my objective here is to emphasize that not knowing or realizing or not really wanting to understand all of this intellectual symbolisms and just going it emotionally is also as valid a path of progress. Anyway, now there are chants which help us in connecting with the energies of the goddess, in realizing what her attributes are, and just uttering the sounds that are associated with her. All these are, these are just a sample. There are many more, but these are the most popular, the most efficient. This is the most profound, very relishable poetically as well. And of all of these, Shyamala Dandakam clearly rules. It is the first, composed by Kalidasa. We'll come to Kalidasa and his brilliance in the next slide. But there are other chants as well. There is Shyamala Kavacham, Navaratna Malika, Sahasranamavali. There is Ashtottara Shatanamavali also. I did not include that here. There is Matangi Kavacham, Matangi Hridayam, and just 16 names of Shyamala. There is that also. All of this, the previous data, all of that I got, I have to reveal my sources, of course, from the same place called Devipuram. I had done this, they have this Sri Vidya course there, and they give thorough material on the different deities of Shyamala Yantra. And so there's enormous symbolism behind each layer as to why are there 4 layers outside. So you see, Shyamala Yantra has 8 enclosures, I said. So this outermost, I don't think you guys can see my mouse, but the outer square structure is again the earth element, the Bhupura. And then there is a 4-petal lotus at the outermost periphery, and then an 8-petal lotus inside it, 16-petal lotus inside it, another 8-petal lotus inside it. There is a cornered pentagon within it, and inside it is the downward pointing triangle and a dot at the center. Each one of these elements there are 8 different forms of Bhairava. So I did not memorize all of it. I did not want to put it up on this also, but there is material. So there are texts like Sri Vidya Ratnakara. There is Parashurama Kalpa Sutras, which again list out all these symbolisms. So they are works of 300-400 pages each. So this is an abridged material that they gave me of this symbolisms of each of these goddesses, the names of the Banas, the 5 arrows. All of that is present, but I would definitely recommend that instead of getting all this information from me, you approach this Sri Vidya as it is supposed to be approached. You take some time out, go take the Diksha, for us to just understand what the symbolism is, what the connections are between the geometrical shapes and the goddess and the story. This format is fine. But if you want to really chant the mantras for each of these 8 forms of Bhairava, and each 8 Bhairava has a Bhairavi, has a feminine form associated with it, and each Bana, the 5 pentagon that you see, the base of the pentagon, base of each of those triangles of the pentagon has one deity, and the corners has another deity. So they have specific mantras. So if you want to take this up as sadhana, I would definitely recommend that you do that as a proper course and a diksha. But I hope whom we are worshipping here, and who this chant is towards, and how that goddess correlates with the human physiology, what her form is like, is all clear here. Because I gave all this description because to understand the individual words of Shyamala Dandakam, this is necessary. Because it says Shankha Padma Dvayo Pashrite. Now you can just, literally it just means Shankha and Padma Dvaya Upashrite. She is the one who is flanked, who has on both her sides Shankha and Padma. You can just understand it as she holding a conch and a lotus in both her hands. That is fair enough. But this left 2 petals that you see, the right and the left petals, not the bottom and the top, correspond to deities called Shankhanidhi and Padmanidhi. So she is also the one who is sought refuge in Shankha Padmadvaya Upashrite. Upashrita is the one who is sought refuge in, the one who has been approached by. So to understand the individual words of Shyamala Dandakam, if I translate these words as, the one who is flanked by Shankhanidhi and Padmanidhi, you would suddenly feel, oh, who are these Shankhanidhi and Padmanidhi? These are deities who correspond to the Shyamala Yantra. So it is not, I wouldn't call it is not just a work of poetic brilliance. It is a work of Tantra. Shyamala Dandakam has to be understood as an instrument towards worshipping the goddess, because Kalidasa is not just a poet. He is not. I mean, he is a brilliant poet, but he is so much, much, much more than that. It pains me a little when I read these articles written that, Adi Shankaracharya was this great visionary and a poet, and a thinker and a philosopher of his times. He, in this culture, is a god himself. There is no distinction anymore between a Brahmavit and Brahma. Because Brahma, this creator, is not somewhere sitting up there. It's within. Somebody who knows that is no longer different and distinct from the creator. Kalidasa is among the people who falls in the same category. But his poetic, unfortunately, his poetry overshadowed his, just the fragrance of his poetic brilliance overshadowed what was happening within him. But it shines through for people who can see it. Because once again, anybody who has heard the Devi Dasha Shloki Stuti, which goes Cheti bhavan nikhila kheti kadambavana vatishu naki patali Koti racharutara koti mani kirana koti karambita pada. This is not the work of just a poet. The imagery, the kind of devotion that is happening within him, the kind of brilliance that he has, is of somebody who has realized something much, much, much more profound than just a play of words, which shines through in his first shloka of Raghuvamsham. Again, his Mahakavyas, there is a beautiful play of words, not just within his natakas, not only within his place, but across his place. So if people have taken words from different plays written by him, combined them together, and they form sentences within themselves. It's insane. So this is poetically just brilliant. But this first shloka just presents what kind of a person he was. I've mentioned this shloka multiple times. It is Vagartha viva sampruktav Vagartha pratipattaye Jagatah pitarau vande Parvati parameshwarav. So as he was employing his speech and the meaning of his speech, he was aware of the fact and knew well within himself experientially that the sound and the meaning, the interplay between them, is like Shiva and Shakti. So as he was employing all of this, he was not just thinking up, oh, what is the poetic meter that might be the best to compose this in, and then doing it, but the realization there is much deeper. He also has another shloka in Malavikagnimitram, which says, Shlishta kriya kasyachidatma samstha Sankranti ranyasya vishesha yukta Yasyo bhayam sadhu sa sikshakanam Dhuri pratishthapaitavya eva. So the meaning of this is, there are some people in this world who are good at doing things. They can get stuff done. There are other people who can't really do things, but they're great at transmitting what they have and educating others. Those who can do both are exceptional among teachers. Shikshakanam dhuri pratishtitapitavya. So those kind of people who excel at getting stuff done, doing things themselves, and at also making others do that thing, those kind of people, this also has a deeper meaning, that those who can realize what the nature of creation is, and also get other people towards that realization, those are the people who are eligible to be called. They are of a different rung of teachers altogether. They are the ones who are worthy to be called a guru. So Kalidasa is a guru in my perspective at least, and he's definitely so. So with that reverence, we'll approach Shyamala Dandakam, not just as a poetically brilliant piece of work, which it is anyway. Now, how are we going to do this? Because, as I mentioned, there are at least 10 different variations in how Shyamala Dandakam is recited by multiple sources. As I was trying to collate all the material and figure out what the correct version is, because in the very invocatory shloka which says Mata Marakata Shyama Matangi Madashalini, some people chant it as Madashalini, some people chant it as Madhushalini. Some people chant it as Manasa Smarami, Satatam Smarami. And the first word, Sudha Samudranta Rudyan Manidvipa, some people chant it as Sudha Samudranta Hridyan Manidvipa. Tasya Chagnyakari Shri Swayam, Tasya Chagnakshari Shri Swayam. So across different texts, these kind of discrepancies exist. I have to confess that I've taken my liberties in picking and choosing which one to follow. Because why these have been twisted little, not with an intention to twist, but with an intention to not disrespect. That is the thing. So nobody wants. So somebody might have seen the shloka Mada Shalini, and oh, how can my goddess be full of mada? She can't be somebody who is arrogant, or somebody who, mada is a negative emotion or negative tendency to have. So she is not Mada Shalini, she is Madhu Shalini. Somebody might have corrected it like that. So manasa smarami, satatam smarami. Oh, manasa, anyway, smarana is by manas only. So satatam, let's use. So these kind of tasya chagnyakari Shri Swayam is, so somebody who chants this Shyamala Dandakam, Shri, the goddess of wealth, follows that person's command. Tasya chagnyakari. So somebody might get offended by this and say, oh, how can goddess Lakshmi follow somebody's commands? So she must be somebody who orders somebody to do something. So she must not be somebody who follows orders, but somebody who dictates orders. So instead of Agnyakari, they have made it Agnyakshari. This is how discrepancies occur. So I've tried to pick ones which make most sense. Most of the times I've gone with democratical process of, if majority of the people are following the same and somebody has tweaked a word, it is they who has done it. So I've ignored that discrepancy. If there is a flow of rhythm, Mata Marakata Shyama, Matangi Madashalini, Kuryat Kataksham Kalyani, Kadamba Vanavasi, so Madashalini makes more sense because none of the other words there have a Mahaprana sound. Mata Marakata Shyama, Matangi Madashalini, Kuryat Kataksham Kalyani. No Mahaprana sound. Somebody comes and says Madhu Shalini, you can sense that this is off. Similarly, Sudha Samudrantha Rudyan, because the point behind doing all of this was to emphasize on why it is Sudha Samudrantha Rudyan Manidvipa and not Sudha Samudrantha Hridyan Manidvipa. Because the sound hr in the middle of such a big word is not something that you will see in any composition. वो कटकता है ऐसे बीच में. See, Sudha Samudrantha Hridyan Manidvipa, it can be chanted. It's not like it is not unpronounceable. But Sudha Samudrantha Rudyan Manidvipa is more smooth in terms of expression. That is at the level of sound. At the level of meaning, Antaha plus Udyat becomes Antarudyan. Antaha is within, Udyat is that which is shining, which is up like that, which is resplendent. Sudha Samudrantha Hridyan means Anta plus Hridyan, which is at the end of Sudha Samudra, something which is attractive to the heart, Hridyan. That again, it very clearly it feels like this is a later kind of a modification. So these kind of discrepancies have been corrected when I have done the Shyamala Dandakam collation of content, and this whole chant is in one huge sequence and people have done like breathless renditions of it. They have just, I don't know how they have held their breath. I had to hold my breath in long words, and it is, like I said, a feat. But it need not be, just whole paragraphs and paragraphs without taking a breath, taking inhalation. There are so many situations, so many clear spots where one could have taken inhalations. One can take inhalations, because the whole composition starts with Jaya Janani. Let me start this video and hopefully you guys can hear me as well. Let me come up here. All right. Let me put myself here. Where are we? So after all these dhyana shlokas, after everything is done, so like I said, we have it in Telugu translation and English translation and Telugu script as well when Telugu translation is happening, and Devanagari in English and Devanagari with Hindi translation also. So I'm hoping to do this in Gujarati, and my dream has been to do it in Nepali and Sinhalese, guys. If that is done, we'll be covering the literal length of the entire, not the country, but at least, where people give this some value, because I know both Nepalis and Sinhalese people give this value. Wherever it is, given some worth, we'll be covering all those languages. Like I said, let's look at how to break words in Shyamala Dandakam. Where can we take pauses? Where can we give a big pause? The whole composition is in first person. Kalidasa is addressing her. At the very end, where there are phalashrutis, there are sentences where he says, oh, somebody who chants this will get this kind of a well-being. Or somebody who meditates upon goddess Shyamala has these kinds of attainments. There it is not Sambodhana, but every other word he is addressing her as O goddess, as if she is there in front of him. And every word, like I said, is just calling her out and saying what is the action, what is the verb. Hey goddess, be victorious. Jaya. It is not may you be victorious, that is Jaya too. It's like kind of a benediction, kind of a hope that somebody may they be ऐसे हो. जय हो नहीं है. This is not जय हो. In Telugu it is Jaya Magu Gaka. It is not Jaya Magu Gaka. It is not Jai Ho. It is Jaya. आप जय करें. It's almost it is Agnya. You be victorious. What should she be victorious over? The war that she is against. Her entire existence, that her whole persona is in the context of goddess Lalita going to war. So in that war, Jaya Janani. Where is this? Jaya Janani. May you be victorious, O goddess. Not may you be victorious, O goddess. And the first line, I have to take huge inhalations before I do this. Sudha Samudrantha Rudyan Manidvipa Samrudha Bilvatavi Madhya Kalpa Druma Kalpa Kadamba Kantara Vasa Priye is one word. That because it ends in Priye. So after this, if you stop chanting, it's fine. You need not necessarily demonstrate that skill to go on further as Vasa Priye Kriti Vasa Priye Sarvaloka Priye Sadara Rabdha Sangeeta Sambhavana Sambhrama Lola Nipasraga Baddha Chuli Sanathatrike Sanumat Putrike Shekari Bhuta. Not necessary. Take pauses because this is not, you're not in a race. You relish these sounds and understand their meanings. And even then it is challenging, let me tell you. And if you have to do such long-winded, unbroken kind of, marathons, you will have to do it quickly. You can't go Sudha Samudrantha Rudyan Manidvipa Samrudha Bilvatavi Madhya. At this speed you can't go. You have to go Sudha Samudrantha Rudyan Manidvipa Samrudha Bilvatavi Madhya Kalpa Druma Kalpa. Not necessary. If you just do this much, we can do one name at a time. Hey goddess who is like this, Jaya, be victorious. Kalpa Druma Kalpa Kadamba Kantara Vasa Priye. So a goddess who loves Priya, who loves to do what? Vasa Priya, who loves to reside. Reside where? Kadamba Kantara Vasa Priya. In the dark forest, in the thicket of Kadamba trees. What other trees does that forest have? Kalpa Druma Kalpa. Kalpa is those. It is also equipped with, also present. What other trees are present? Kalpadruma, Kalpadruma tree. Druma is a tree. Where is this? This is in the middle of a grove of bilva trees, Bilvatavi. So you can pleasantly, very happily understand this entire name of the goddess that he is calling out in as one word. Take a breath happily and then say Krittivasa Priye. O goddess who likes the guy who is clad in Kritti. Vasa is literally, the first name he called her Kadamba Kantara Vasa Priye, who loves to reside. Vasa is the place one resides in. So Vasa can also mean a home, one's abode, and also one's clothes. So Kritti is animal hide. Krittivasa is the one who clads himself in animal hide, who is Lord Shiva. So the one who loves Lord Shiva too. Krittivasa Priye. Sarvaloka Priye, the one who loves all the worlds. Now you can go to the next word. Take a full inhalation. Sadararabdha Sangeeta Sambhavana Sambramalola Nipasragabadha Chuli Sanathatrike. Fine. You have some more air left, keep it. No problem. It's still pranayama in itself. It's Chuli Sanathatrike. Then comes Sanumat Putrike. All of this, it's just, oh goddess who is so and so and so and so, what? Be victorious, because you're going to battle. So this is how we'll be doing word by word. So in Telugu, the translation is here, O Talli, నీ గౌరవార్థం ప్రదర్శింపబడే సంగీతాన్ని ఆస్వాదిస్తూ నీ తల ఊపినప్పుడు నీప చెట్టు పూలమాలతో చుట్టిన ముమ్మార్లు నేసిన కదిలే కొప్పు కలదాన వాట్? జయ, రాజిల్లు, be victorious. So this kind of translation in each, let's see how many we can do. I have a number in mind. I don't want to say it out and then not be able to keep it. I'm doing 3 for sure. Let's see if it can be 5 or 7 or 9. Let's see. But I have time, we have time, because January 22nd is when Shyamala Navaratris are starting. 26th is when Vasanta Panchami is. The English translations are complete. So if anybody can check those English translations, you can get in touch with me if you need translating those English meanings in your own mother tongue. I can get these transliterated into every other language very effortlessly, and I can read them also myself. Not Sinhalese, I can't read that, but meanings is what I need help with, guys. So if you are expert in your own local languages, please get in touch with me if you want to help this project out. It can be paid, it need not be unpaid labor. So I'd be extremely grateful, of course, but on top of that, if you are somebody who wants, who wants this project to be paid and want it to be a paying opportunity, it can be. Tomorrow is Vaikuntha Ekadashi, I see in comments. Yes, we'll come to that. But I hope this much is clear with this. So even if in between, if you're trying to do this for all the musicians, all other composers who might be out there who want to do this, chant this as renditions, if you want to break the word in between, don't break it at odd places. So these hyphens that you see are individual words. Of course, the whole thing is one single compound word, which is made of smaller words. So if somebody is chanting it in melody, you can't say Sadararabdha. So, Sadararabdha is one component. Then you get Sangeeta, Sambhavana, Sambramalola, Nipasragabadha, Chuli Sanathatrike. So if you split it in between and take pauses at chu and then say Li Sanathatrike, it doesn't mean a damn thing. So that is why these hyphens have been given. But please, I mean, this is anyway, a lot of effort has been reduced from trying to do I wanted to use the word vocal circus, but you don't need to expend your air or do this kind of a sprint with the chant. So take it one by one word at a time. And like Vivek has pointed out, all of these words are structured in such a way that there is a huge compound word, and it is almost as if Kalidasa himself was like, oh my god, this was such a big word, let me now use 2-3 small words next. Chuli Sanathatrike, Sanumat Putrike. And after a huge compound word, he uses small words. Then he goes big again, then small words. So it's like heaving for breath, he himself. So it's an extremely relishable chant. Sanumat Putrike, O goddess who is the Putrika, who is the daughter of whom? Of the guy who has Sanus. Parvata Sanulu, Telugu word Sanu also means a valley. So the guy of valleys, the lord of valleys. So the word play is just brilliant. So there is a lot to relish. There is a lot to be devotional towards. There is so much to just enjoy in Shyamala Dandakam. So I hope this is useful for you in learning Shyamala Dandakam and relishing this whole composition, in developing some more adoration and reverence towards Kalidasa, towards the path of Sri Vidya. And now we'll take some questions. If you have, 300 odd people still watching. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. And let's look at comments. And after we are done with the comments, I'll stop reading the YouTube comments. I'll stop the YouTube live. Then we'll go to the Zoom meeting. How many people do we have in the Zoom meeting? Do we have only one person? What's happening? Okay. Interesting. Okay, maybe the members are not interested. Guys, among the 340, I'm guessing there are some members and patrons who are watching. You can come onto the Zoom session for us to have a conversation later on. I mean, all of this is made possible by you guys who are paying the money. So, let me at least give you something extra in return. But if you're not too particular, I won't force you. Thank you so much for joining and supporting anyways. The rest of the people, if you want to, support the channel, take up memberships, consider doing that. Let's now go towards comments from the last one up. Why Linga Bhairavi Yantra same as Kali Yantra? Mr. Anonymous asks. One of the words for Shyamala in Shyamala Dandakam, Kalidasa calls her Kalike. So Linga Bhairavi Yantra is not exactly Kalika Yantra. I don't know Kalika Yantra. It is Sarva Siddhi Prada Chakra of the Sri Yantra. So it is the second last from the top. Like I said, there are 9 different chakras, 9 different levels in each in the entire Sri Yantra. Linga Bhairavi Yantra is the second one, and Tripura Bhairavi is the presiding deity of that yantra too. So I'm sure there is a lot of correlation there, but this dark aspect of the mother who is still unmanifest, she is fierce but is a compassionate mother, that aspect is at Bhairavi, the Tripura Bhairavi as she is called. So yes, Linga Bhairavi also has the same yantra. How to get initiated into Sri Vidya, Kunalji asks. Kunalji, there are many institutions who are offering this. I can't comment on the authenticity or validity of all of them. I had this experience at Devipuram, and I know how they are conducting their processes. The guru is not there, but even then the people who are conducting it are very responsible and conduct it with a certain sense of sanctity and reverence. They hold that knowledge that has been passed on in a very sanct way. So I'd recommend Devipuram near Anakapalli in Andhra Pradesh. I know there are questions coming after it, but let me go upwards from the Kali Yantra. Banaji asks, what is the symbolic message behind music? Goddess Neela Saraswati's Veena and the cremation grounds where she resides. So, like I said, Veena also there are if you want to really draw these parallels, there are so many parallels that can be drawn. One thing is this Venu, Veena, and Vani and Nirvana. All those, the Varna sound is represents just the Dhatu represents sound and reverberation. So that is why she is seen to be holding a veena. Of course, she is also the goddess of music, and veena is one of those stringed instruments. That is fine, but uh, like I said, this veena is this cosmic reverb itself. So if you think on these lines, you can figure that connection yourself as to this place of dissolution, the final leaving place of a human being, and how the very primordial reverberation, these sounds that emanate from a veena. I'll not, over explain it, but I hope you get this connection. So, again, these three words, veena, venu, and vani, these are very fascinating to me. I get fascinated by this combination of sounds. All right. Above that, thank you for your efforts. Thank you so much. I can help with Tamil for free. Amritaji, thank you so much. That would be very helpful. Again, if you offer it for free, I'm grateful. I won't decline it, but it can also be a paid opportunity. Please message me on, send me a mail at thesanskritchannel@gmail.com or send me a message on Instagram. I'll send you guys the English translation that I've already done. Using that, you can translate that English meaning into Tamil. And if you have any questions, Tamil or any other language, and if you have any questions as to why this was translated in this particular way, what was the Sanskrit word which was interpreted like this, we can have a Zoom call. We can have sessions between us and finalize the final translation, the last draft. And of course, I'll give you guys all the credits in the videos, and if needed, it can be a paid opportunity also, depending on how much effort it takes and how much, depending on each individual person. So thank you so much for helping. Kannada, Shalini ji. Kannada barutte nange. I can do it. But I'm guessing I have a couple of people who can help me with Kannada. But again, if there is anybody who can give that time, this whole process might take a couple of hours at least. So I would say at least you'll have to give like 4 to 5 hours to just sit, understand. There are one thing that I skipped over is there are 5 stanzas in Shyamala Dandakam, starting from Jaya Janani Sudha Samudranta to the very end, Tubhyam Namo Devi Tubhyam Namaha. To the very end, it can be split into 5 stanzas, and the Phalashruti part, where we look at the meaning, where we look at the benefits of the chant, that has 18 names of addressing the goddess, and before that, the Jaya part has 100 names. So to do all of this, to understand, it will take around 4 to 5 hours for sure. So if you have that time to spare and the skill with the language, please get in touch with me. Kannada ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. You please send me a message. English, I'll be uploading it very soon. English is anyway done. So Devanagari script with English meanings, I'll be uploading it very soon. About Vaikuntha Ekadashi tomorrow, yes, it is this auspicious day. Vaikuntha, the word comes from Kunthita, is that which is crooked or faulty. Vaikuntha is that which is beyond any fault, any sin. So this is also called Moksha the Ekadashi, and there are stories like they say, Padma Purana has stories of the importance of this Ekadashi, and there is also this Ambarisha Charitam, which in Narayaniyam we had explored Ambarisha Charitam, which talks about the importance of observing a fast on Vaikuntha Ekadashi. So yes, wish us all a very happy Vaikuntha Ekadashi, and if possible, please do fast tomorrow. It is extremely beneficial in one's spiritual progress. Please increase mic volume. Okay, I hope this was audible so far. I like this praise. Thank you, Sagarji, but I will not read out that praise, but thank you. Okay, got it. Diksha is required. Pentagram. Okay, yeah, other kinds of stuff going on. Okay, Dos ji asked what type of yantra is the Linga Bhairavi yantra. Like I said, Sarva Siddhi Pradayaka Chakra. I hope that helped. All right. Any other questions? Did you know in your Khadgamala Stotram, Garima is not present in the second link? I did not know that Garima is not present. I took a lot of care in making sure that Khadgamala Stotram is very correct. Again, it could be Pathantara, but mostly it is present. In the second link, I don't know what you mean by second link. If you can send me a screenshot, that will be helpful, but most probably 99.9% Khadgamala Stotram is error free. Yes. Oh, it is the first Ekadashi and full moon after Uttarayana. Yes, makes sense. Cool. Can you elaborate on how to fast tomorrow, please? So there are different kinds of fast. So basically the purpose of fast. Once again, so let's not do any of this just because it is a rule that somebody follows, right? Upavasa, literally the fasting English term. Upavasa, उपवास हिंदी बोलने वाले छिड़ जाएंगे फिर उपवासा क्यों बोल रहे हो उपवासा is residing near to somebody, so it's going closer to. So going closer to what? One's own self or the divine. How does that happen? What does not eating food have to do with it? Having food in the stomach kind of makes you complacent. Only if you have fuel in the body, there all this chatter going on in the head. You'll notice that if you stop taking in the fuel, after some time, even the mental chatter starts to go down. Body tries to conserve its energy. So those who are thinking, oh, I can't meditate, my mind never stops all this chatter, it's constantly on, just stop eating and providing it fuel. Body will start to conserve energy for itself, and only when the mind becomes as still and crystal clear as a mirror or a lake, there are many similes, parallels that are drawn, does one see the self, and when gets identified with the true nature of the self. Patanjali Yoga Sutras talk about it, and this is one small step towards Chitta Vritti Nirodha, as they call it. So how do you do Chitta Vritti Nirodha? One very simple thing is stop fueling it. So there are many other. So how do you do that upavasa? How do you go closer to your own self or your object of worship? You can, if you are eating all sorts of food, just cut down step by step on how much fuel you put into the body. So some people stop eating grains. Some people stop eating vegetables also. Some people start just drinking honey, water and lemon, and some people even just drink water. There are some people who don't even drink water. I know I have met people who don't drink even water and just fast for multiple days. That is, I don't know, it depends on how much cutting down of fuel you need to calm down your mind. But the point of upavasa is not to whip yourself unnecessarily. It is to go closer to your own real self. That is what upavasa means. So do that in whichever capability you can. Thank you so much, Ramakashiji. What a wonderful name. Thank you so much. Nirjala Ekadashi. Yes, different kinds. So there is, some people don't have grain for 4 months. They stop eating any kinds of grain. Make sure that you are taking care of your hydration, depending on the weather, depending on your body type. You just see how you can do that upavasa for yourself. Don't get caught up in all this strong and fast rules. If at the end of the day you felt that you were more peaceful, calm, composed, centered in your own self, you have done a successful upavasa. All right, there are some more questions on Sanskrit being a circular language. I don't know what that means, but if there are Any other questions related to Shyamala Dandakam? Kannada movie Kaviratna Kalidasa contain a song where it is Shyamala Dandaka in full. I think I've seen it. There was one Tamil movie also, Kalidasa. I think it was Gemini Ganeshan. I don't know the name. I'm sorry, I'm bad with these actors, but there is Kalidasa. Oh, there is this story on Kalidasa, how he was an utter fool at one point of time, and then Kali goddess, he was married in by trickery to a very clever woman, and then there is most of these stories people know, so I did not want to reiterate it. We don't know if it is a real story, if it is just something that people made up, because they could not come to grasps with how can this man be so brilliant. So he must be dumb at one point of time, and then goddess must have intervened. We don't know that for sure, but it's a beautiful story nonetheless. And there is one last slide which talks about these 4 Navaratris. We all know about the Sharan Navaratris, the Ashwayuja Masa, the Durga Navaratris. There are of the 12 months that we have, every 3 months there is a Navaratri. So that is the basic principle. So people wanted to celebrate something every 3 months. Of course there is a significance of this waxing phase of the moon, and there are different deities which correspond to each season. So in each season, in Vasanta Rutu, there is Chaitra Navaratris, Grishma Rutu, Ashadha Navaratris, Sharad Rutu, of course, Sharan Navaratris, and Shishira Rutu, which is coming up, Magha, which we are in. There is Shishira Navaratris or Shyamala Navaratris or Gupta Navaratris. So yeah, this is the last slide. So thank you so much, guys, once again. Oh, so many people still watching. From where can I get classes on this? Are you conducting on the course? So I thought I'll give you guys this overview so that you can understand Shyamala Dandakam and appreciate it better. And we can also do a kind of a learn it live session exploring each individual name and its meaning. But that'll, again, I'll not keep it open like this for everybody. We'll keep it only for patrons and members, so that it can be a more practice kind of a session where people can get an opportunity to chant it out and clear any pronunciation mistakes and clarify any doubts with interpretations and meanings of names. But if that is done, I'll then edit it into smaller chunks and post it up. Even this will stay, this live stream will stay public on YouTube, so you can refer to this. And all the other language renditions, the chants, the uninterrupted chant with the meanings, I'll make them also public. But for people who support us through memberships, who basically enable all this, provide fuel for us to run, to incentivize them, I'll provide these PDFs that they can download and make a printout of, or the audio files that they can listen to, and MP3 files, and these live stream more personal sessions with them. Despite that, nobody is here with us on Zoom. So yeah, that is the end of this session, guys. Thank you so much for staying until the end. There are so many people still with us. Thank you so much. If you want to come to the Zoom session where there is nobody present, I can spare like another half an hour maybe. The password is Kalika, Kalika. The link to the Zoom session is in the description below. The password has been given to all the members and patrons, but only a few of them are here on Zoom. So if any of you here wants to come continue this conversation, you can come to the Zoom session. Thank you so much for joining the live stream. An extremely happy Vaikuntha Ekadashi tomorrow, and have an extremely joyful 2023. So see you in the next live stream. Make sure that you like this video, share this video with those in your circle who might be interested in Shyamala Dandakam, who are practicing Sri Vidya, or those who are curious about Sri Vidya. Click on the subscribe button if you have not done that already. Thank you so much. Namaskaram.